Today is my 19th birthday. Well, not today. The day I'm filming this is, but the day I'm uploading it is the most likely day after or days after. I turned 19 today, which means today I'm going to share my 19 favorite movies of all time. Alright, before we get started, please make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell, and comment down below what is your favorite movies of all time. It could be the age you are, unless you're like, I don't know, 60, and you're watching this, and you don't want to, like, find 60 favorite movies. Or if you do, tell me what they are. I would love to know all that and more down below, because I love seeing what other people's favorite movies are. This is a very definitive list. We got classics on here that I feel have to be put on here. We got recent movies, specifically from last year, that have to be put on here because that's just how I feel. We even got movies like comic book movies. It's a whole wide spectrum of a list. I want to know what yours is because I love seeing other people's favorite movies. And with that said, let's get started. These first three I'm going to talk about are classics that I feel like have to belong on here. Like, number 19 is going to be Rocky. I love Rocky. While doing the notes for this video, I went through, like, the classic movies considered to be the best movies of all time, and I picked the ones which are my favorite. So Rocky is on this list just because I love this story. The underdog story, Sylvester Stallone. If you don't know, he wrote the script, had a hard time finding someone to make the movie. Once he did, he created an all-time classic boxing movie, an all-time classic underdog story. I love the romance between him and Adrian in this movie. I find the boxing sequences to be pretty thrilling, and even in the end where he loses, it just all comes across as just this big story that is just a feel-good story. And compared to real life, and to what happens in the movie, it's just a feel-good story that I'll watch once or twice every year. It's entertaining. I love the characters in this movie. And even though I find like the sequels to be a little bit more entertaining, it's not even my favorite movie in the Rocky franchise. You gotta add it on here just because it's just an absolute classic of a movie that I really enjoy watching every year. Number 18, we got Back to the Future. Now, this is a movie that I really enjoy. I watch this 3 or 4 times every year, just turn it on in the background just to watch. I really like this movie. Again, we got classic characters in Marty McFly and the Doc. We got a classic story, again, as this is a classic movie, where you're just going back in time and all that stuff. I really find that to be entertaining. And again, it's just kind of like this feel-good movie. You don't get movies like this nowadays where it's just this whole fun story. It doesn't connect to anything. It doesn't have any flaws with it. It is just a fun story that is really entertaining. And in this one in particular, I always enjoy watching this one. This is one of the most rewatchable movies of all time because, again, you like the characters, you like the story, and it's very entertaining. It's one of those movies that I really enjoy, and I always return back to this one every year. Really like this one. And number 17 is Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just like Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark is really fun. It's a movie from the 80s, I think 70s, but it's a movie from back then that just, it doesn't have to be connected to anything. It's just a fun adventure with Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones. This one in particular is one of the best action-adventure movies of all time. It's so entertaining. You, again, dig the romance between the two characters, the whole mystery of what's actually going on, and that reveal of it's the Ark of the Covenant. It's just one of those classic action-adventure movies that you can turn on 3 or 4 times a year and just really enjoy it. That's what 80s movies are. And that's what a lot of these movies are for me, is that they're just movies that I really enjoy. They're fun movies. Like Rocky, Back to the Future, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Enjoy all 3 of those movies, and I'll watch them numerous times every year. Those are the classics that I 100% have to put on my best of all time list. Moving away from the classics here, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Now, this is a newer movie, but I'm putting it on this list kind of to encapsulate the whole franchise as a whole. The Mission Impossible franchise, I'd go as far as say is my favorite franchise of all time. I love the Mission Impossible movies. I just love the characters in Ethan, Benji, Vic. I really enjoy them. The action sequences always find a new spin, where as you feel the action sequences is dying down, they always just keep adding something and adding something to make it more intense. I put this one here because I could put any one of the Mission Impossible movies on here, except maybe Mission Impossible 2. I revisit every single one of these movies numerous times a year. If I'm sick, I watch these movies. If I'm tired, I just throw on a movie to fall asleep to. I love Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. I saw this one last year, and first viewing, I was like, I don't know if I like this one as much as the other ones, but it's become the one that I turn on the most, honestly, where, like, you have this big story that feels like it has a lot of weight to it. Has a lot more weight than the other movies in the franchise do, and then it kind of just ends off on that cliffhanger, where we're getting Final Reckoning next year, which is my most anticipated movie of next year, and if Dead Reckoning is just probably, I'd say, my favorite out of those movies, just because of how much I turn it on. I find the action sequences in that movie to be the best in the entire franchise, where, like, you have the sequence, I think it's in Italy, where that whole car sequence, you have the train sequence to end the movie, you have the dance sequence, where the character of Ilsa Faust, which every time I upload a Mission Impossible video, I have someone go in the comment section and tell me that Dead Reckoning sucks because Ilsa Faust dies. Whatever, dude. Anyways, you have that whole action sequence there, and they are the most fun that the Mission Impossible action sequences will be, so I think this one propels it up to the top of the Mission Impossible movies, but this is a placement on my favorites of all time list, just because I love this franchise, and I have to put a Mission Impossible movie on that list. Number 15, Across the Spider-Verse, my favorite Spider-Man movie. It's weird because this came out last year, one of my favorite movies of last year. This is just one because it totally encapsulates everything Spider-Man is, where it just tells this huge story. Has the romance story of Miles and Gwen. It feels very small for the first hour of the movie, where it's just Miles going out with Gwen and getting in trouble by his parents and all that. And then by the time you enter the end of the movie, you realize what it's actually going for. Oh crap, Spot is going to destroy his universe, and his dad is going to die. And it's very, very emotional, and really shows what Spider-Man is. Spider-Man doesn't become Spider-Man until someone he loves dies. It is a celebration of Spider-Man. Just like No Way Home was a celebration of Spider-Man, Across Spider-Verse is a bigger celebration of Spider-Man. And then you end off on that cliffhanger, man. And every time I watch that cliffhanger, I just get chills up and down my entire body. It is intense. I cannot wait for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I absolutely love Across the Spider-Verse. Number 14, Men in Black 3. I love the Men in Black franchise. This is a franchise that I grew up with. And I have to put Men in Black 3 on this list because it is the one I watch the most. Now, I do enjoy mostly every movie in this franchise, except the one with Chris Hemsworth. I don't think that one's good. But the original 3 Men in Black movies are just really entertaining, where you get that first one that is just kind of like Rocky Back to the Future and Raiders of the Lost Ark, where it's just a fun story. It's just fun. It doesn't have the big weight of the world or anything. It's just we're hanging out with Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, and we're killing aliens. It's a fun movie. This movie I just find to be really entertaining, where you're going back in time. Josh Brolin, one of my favorite actors, is a phenomenal villain in here. You're going to see Josh Brolin pop up several more times in this video. But it's just very entertaining. I love a good time travel movie, as you saw with Back to the Future on this list. So, like, the time travel aspect, I think, really works. And I think it's the funniest out of every movie in this franchise. Will Smith, hilarious. He was very funny in this movie. And speaking of Will Smith, I think we need to stop hating on Will Smith for that Oscars incident. Like, not to go on a rant here, but, like, come on. You guys would have done the same if someone was making inappropriate jokes. Well, not inappropriate, but jokes that you don't like about your spouse, your girlfriend, your wife, your husband, anything. Any one of us would do that. Rant over. Will Smith, hilarious in this role. So this is a Mission Impossible movie Men in Black movie, rather, that I come back to the most. I really enjoy this movie, and again, this is a franchise that I love, so I have to include a movie from that franchise, and this one is the best out of that franchise. Number 13, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. Now, this is a movie that every time I go over to my best friend's house, we watch it. I've seen it with my brother numerous times. Ace Ventura is a movie that I did not want to watch. My best friend told me that we need to watch it. I didn't want to, but I'm like, okay, we'll watch it. And I fell in love with it. And now it's become a tradition. Every time I go to his house, we watch this movie. Either this movie or The Batman. It's kind of weird. But we always watch Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, and it's just probably the funniest movie I've ever seen. It's very quotable. Within my personal friend group, we quote this movie all the time. Jim Carrey is a comedic genius, obviously. It's even got football in it. It's got an intriguing mystery. It's got comedy. It's got everything that me as a film critic and a football lover will love. It is endlessly entertaining. It's only an hour and 20-something minutes. So it breezes by every time. This is just has to be one of my favorite movies of all time. This is the funniest movie of all time I would throw out there. I think this is my favorite comedy movie of all time. So I just love Ace Ventura, and I have to put it on this list. And just personally because of me and within my personal friend group, within my personal family, we love Ace Ventura. I love this movie. Number 12, we got Shrek. Now, funny story, when I did that Shrek video right when I started my channel, again, it's become an entire meme inside of my friend group because of that cringy intro I did.
It's time. Shrek. Oh, baby, it's time.
That all of my friends still make fun of me for it, and I cannot believe I put something like that out on the internet. So, whatever. First Shrek, second Shrek, great movies. I'd say I like the first Shrek more. As you can see, that is the movie from the Shrek franchise that I am putting on this list. I think this movie is great. It just tells an intriguing fantasy fairy tale story that you've never seen before, where you got like all the fairy tale characters wanted by the prince, and you just got Shrek and all the fairy tale characters, specifically with Donkey, just going on this huge adventure that is just fun. It's charming. You love the romance with Shrek and Fiona. Donkey is a great addition into here. It's just one of those family movies that I can turn on every day if I like, and just really enjoy this movie. And just because of the way it holds in my personal friend group, I always find this one to be better than Shrek 2. This is my favorite DreamWorks movie of all time. I love Shrek. That's why it goes on this list. Number 11, we got Cloverfield. Now, I could put Cloverfield or 10 Cloverfield Lane, rather, on this list. I love both of those movies. When I saw 10 Cloverfield Lane, I made it my personality that when I played Roblox, which I still kind of do, and I still have this account, I made my name John Goodman the Killer because I became so obsessed with this movie because I loved it. Looking back on it, still love that movie. It made me fall in love with thrillers. I'd say the first Cloverfield is better. It gives us characters that we care about, has this whole vibe where you're not focusing on the military trying to kill them or anything. You're just focusing on this group of people trying to get to this one place to save another person. And it feels personal. The Clover monster, like you feel the weight of it because you're just hanging out with these people and then the big monster comes. It is terrifying every time. There are deaths in here that are shocking. The ending of the movie, when I saw this a long time ago for the first time, I was shocked that they actually pulled off that ending. Very, very good stuff. Love this movie. This is the movie that, I could change 10 Cloverfield Lane in this movie any other day. But this is a movie I feel made me terrified of monster movies. And it really, really worked. It's a really effective movie. I love this movie. Now we are going to enter my top 10 of all time. Now, having those out of my top 10, most of those, like having Shrek out of my top 10, Cloverfield out of my top 10, Ace Ventura out of my top 10, very hard stuff to do. But I love every movie on this list. And so it's very hard to have to cut some. Here is my top 10 of all time. Number 10, Joker. Saw this movie last October for the very first time. Fell in love with it. And this was way, way higher up on the list until I saw Joker 2, which, not to talk about, but Joker 2 sucked. But anyways, this movie, I feel, was masterful. I mean, it converts all our expectations. We're seeing one entire story, and then all of a sudden, as you go on in the movie, you're realizing that nothing that you saw in the story is actually the truth, and has Joker be an unreliable narrator. Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic in this role, and not to mention Joker 2 again. But once you get to Joker 2, it's very clear that he didn't want to make a movie about the Joker. And this movie, I feel it does. And by the time we get to the finale of the movie, where like Bruce Wayne's parents are being murdered by the Joker mob, I feel like this is an actual Gotham City that is going to lead into actual Batman movies. And I love that vibe. I love that vibe. So, and it also has this creepy vibe. Joaquin Phoenix's performance is phenomenal. He is fantastic in this movie. And so this is just a movie that it adverts every expectation. I love movies with unreliable narrators, and this is one of those with unreliable narrators. I feel like it works 100%. I love this movie. And if only it was higher if Joker 2 did not come out. Because that movie just kind of put a sour taste in my mouth. Went back home, rewatched this one. And I loved it. So, I still love this movie, but Joker 2, no. Joker 2 is god-awful. Number 9, let's go with Sicario. This is one of, again, my personal comfort movies, and which is weird to say, because my comfort movies involve a lot of people dying. It's super weird. I'll watch this movie when I'm sick. I'll watch this movie just for fun. Love this movie. Denis Villeneuve is just able to have such a vibe here. He's able to bring in very intense sequences with like the bridge sequence and every other action sequence in. We have our characters that are in the military. Benicio del Toro. Told you Josh Brolin was going to show up later in this video. One of my favorite actors of all time. He's great in here. And you have them, and they're trying to do the right thing, but they're doing it the wrong way. And then you have Emily Blunt's character, who wants to do things the right way, and just creates this sort of difference with them. Creates this sort of chemistry that is really, really unique. And by the time you get to the end of the movie, and you realize what Benicio del Toro's real thing was, and he sits down at the table with the family, kills that family, man, it is some deep stuff. And it's overall, the entire story is a very unique look on classic war films. I don't like war films. I don't typically like movies like this. But I love this one because we have this unique story, this unique aspect to it that Denis Villeneuve brings to every movie. I love Denis Villeneuve. I'd say Dune 2, Prisoners, this movie, 3 of the greatest movies ever made, I'd say. And I'm only putting Sicario on this list because this is one of my comfort movies, which is, again, really weird to say because this is a movie involving a lot of murder. But I could watch this movie any day of the week. I just find it to be entertaining while also being a unique aspect to a movie like this. Number 8, Talk to Me. This is my favorite movie out of the decade so far. I love devastating horror movies. This one is one of the most devastating horror movies I've ever seen. Man, oh man. How devastating was this movie? It just shows a bunch of kids messing around and finding out. And that's exactly what they do. And then, all of a sudden, crap goes sour. It goes bad. And you're just following these characters descent into madness. Specifically, our main character, her going crazy. The bad things that are happening to these children is devastating to watch. Devastating to watch this downward spiral. And then you get to the end of the movie, and that final sequence, and specifically the final shot where you realize she's one of the characters that's inside this hand now. It is devastating. Devastating to watch. And I get goosebumps every time I think about it. It's masterful stuff. This movie was made by 2 YouTubers. 2 YouTubers. And it's my favorite movie of the decade. I love horror movies, and this is one of the scariest I've ever seen. Well done. Well done. Fantastic movie. Number 7, Jurassic Park. Now, if you know me, I love myself a good dinosaur flick. I love myself a good movie where you just got a bunch of creatures going around and killing people. I love almost every single movie in this franchise. Well, I wouldn't say love. Like The Lost World, Jurassic Park 3. I wouldn't say those are great movies, Dominion, but I really just enjoy every single dinosaur movie, every single film in the Jurassic Park franchise, and this is just a movie that started it off. We again get introduced to fantastic characters and Alan Grant and Ellie. You got Ian Malcolm in here, played by Jeff Goldblum, who is fantastic. Samuel L. Jackson. I can go on and on about the cast, but it's just a classic story. Again, like Back to the Future, Rocky, Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a classic story that is just endlessly entertaining. It doesn't need to be this biggest thing. We're just centered on these characters as they trying to survive from dinosaurs. That's all this movie is, and it's endlessly entertaining. It's a classic, downright. The dinosaur action sequences are great. The T-Rex is awesome. The Velociraptor's even better. So this is one that, I'll turn on 5 or 6 times a year and rewatch it. Number 6, Halloween. My Halloween tradition is to watch Halloween on Halloween. In fact, I just bought the 4K at VStock the other day, so I'm very excited to give this one a rewatch because my mother, for my birthday today, bought me a 4K player. Shout out to my mother, even though I was using PlayStation 5. I actually already watched Deadpool and Wolverine on it throughout the day. So, the 4K player looks great. Enough talk about my 4K player. Halloween, absolute classic. This is the classic Halloween movie. The classic horror movie. We just got the characters, and they're just trying to enjoy their night. And then you get Michael Myers slowly killing them off. It is only an hour and a half long, so it's easy to get through. You get to the ending of the movie, and it's just this intense chase. Michael Myers chasing Laurie Strode throughout the house. It is a great movie, and it is the classic Halloween movie. It is the format for several slasher movies. I mean, it even really spawned the Friday the 13th series, which I absolutely hate. But this is the classic Halloween movie. I love it. I watch it every Halloween. Number 5, Toy Story. Another movie which I will turn on 5 or 6 times a year. It just tells a story of friendship. You got Woody, you got Buzz. They hate each other from the get-go. And then you just kind of go on this fun adventure as they slowly get friendship. They slowly become friends. It's very charming. The voice actors are great. It's very entertaining. The whole sequence at Sid's house. Bro, I get chills thinking about it. It is creepy. It is awesome. And I think that's where I got my mind for horror movies, is from this movie. Again, it just tells this fun story that it's a classic Pixar movie. It's the first Pixar movie to come out, and it is my favorite. It will forever be my favorite Pixar movie. I really enjoy this movie. My brother's a sicko. He hates this movie. I hate my brother for hating this movie. Not really. I love my brother. Love you, bro, if you're watching. Anyways, Toy Story, absolute classic. Love this movie. Number 4 is kind of a double feature because can't really compare these two. Infinity War, Endgame. I know you guys were wondering when the MCU would come up in here. So Infinity War, when I first watched it in 2018, I didn't go to the theater to see it because I didn't have a driver's license. My parents did. Shout out to you, my parents. I also went to see Endgame without me and didn't take me. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. Well, I had to wait till I watched it on physical media. When family video was still a thing, I went out and rented this movie. And I did not like it. I did not like Avengers Infinity War. I really didn't. Endgame, when I did, I loved. I thought it was my favorite MCU movie. Infinity War is the one MCU movie that I constantly rewatch. I watch this 10 or more times a year, which, kind of crazy, but I do. I love this movie because it just brings everything that we've got from the other MCU. All the characters and their banter that they always have with each other in the other movies, and just combines them to tell this grand story. Whether you get what's going on with Captain America's group, or what's going on with Iron Man and the Guardians of the Galaxy's group, or what's going on with Thor's group, it always has a different story to tell inside this movie. And then you get Thanos, Josh Brolin, fantastic villain, not one of the best MCU villain that we've ever had. And so it's just endlessly entertaining. The ending is devastating as you watch all of your favorite characters just fade away. And it's made even better by Endgame. And now we talk about Endgame, where it's just this 3-hour long. The first hour or hour and a half is just seeing what our characters are up to. And then we get the back half of the movie where they're going back in time. They're figuring everything out. They're getting all the stones back. And then you have that final hour of the movie. It's awesome. That huge, big action sequences. Everything that we have been waiting for in the MCU. 10 years. All coming down to every single character on screen fighting to stop Thanos. It is awesome. It is an event. I love Infinity War. I love Endgame. It has to be on this list. Number 3, Scream. My personal favorite horror movie of all time. Now, when I first saw this one, I thought the last 45 minutes were fantastic. The first hour of it was good. But I instantly rewatched it after that. And then I rewatched it again numerous other times. I love this movie. It's just a parody on slashers. Where slashers are very familiar genre. I mean, you got this serial killer. You got the group that go out. They make out with each other. And then the serial killer kills them. This one puts a new, fresh spin on things by making fun of that, while still being fresh and unique. The 2 reveals here of Billy and Stu, fantastic. Stu, in particular, is the best Scream villain. I love the Scream franchise, obviously. I mean, I love Scream 5, Scream 3, or Scream 3 is the worst one. Scream 2, Scream 4, Scream 6 was mediocre. But I just love this franchise as a whole. And this is one that just started it off. 2 great reveals. Our characters of Sidney, Tatum, I thought was a really good addition to here. And rest in peace to Tatum. I just thought this movie was great. And it has been one of my favorite slasher movies of all time. Well, not one of my favorite slasher horror movie of all time. Number 2, my second favorite movie of all time. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Love this new Planet of the Apes trilogy. Or not the new one, but the most recent one. Except Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I got that on 4K right behind here. Love that movie as well. I love the Planet of the Apes franchise. And this one is my favorite one. Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Because it just kind of shows what the world's going through after Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes was a masterpiece. It is a great movie. And this movie, it's kind of like seeing how society is. What's actually going on. And then you get Caesar, who's this great character. He can talk now, which is awesome. But he's trying to trust the humans again. And then you get Koba, who can't trust the humans. And then what do we get as the movie goes along? He goes crazy. Starts this huge war between the apes. It's a bunch of apes fighting, and it looks awesome. It is visually spectacular. Matt Reeves directs this movie fantastically. I mean, it is a freaking beautiful movie. And then we prepare for the war, which, in my opinion, my least favorite out of all these. But it prepares us for the war. It's the middle chapter that tells a great story and prepares us for a final chapter, which I kind of wish would have been a tad bit better. I love this movie. It is my favorite Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie. But what is my number 1 favorite movie of all time? If you've been watching my channel for a while, you will know it is The Dark Knight. Christopher Nolan directs a fantastic movie with a story that's not just about Batman. It tells a story about the Gotham underworld, about Gotham as a whole, and it is great. It is fantastic. It's not just the things that don't shine for this movie for me is like it's not just about Heath Ledger's Joker and Christian Bale's Batman fighting. It's about the entirety of Gotham as they face this threat. And then you got the underworld that Joker's trying to control, and it all comes down to this big grand finale of Batman and Joker fighting. Heath Ledger's performance, rest in peace to Heath Ledger, is great. It is the best villain performance. No, not even the best villain performance. The best performance of all time. The overall themes here of Gotham and the people having to come together all is encapsulated by that sequence on the boats. The people have a chance to blow up the bad guys. The bad guys have a chance to blow up the normal people. And they won't. Because it's Gotham. It sticks together. Heath Ledger's Joker is great. I've said that numerous times. But he is genuinely chilling. Have Harvey Dent's downfall in this movie as well. Where he becomes Two-Face. And then Batman having to take the blame for everything that's going on. Leading up to The Dark Knight Rises. Which I still haven't seen in full. I still haven't seen The Dark Knight Rises in full. I really need to. But The Dark Knight, it's a phenomenal movie by Christopher Nolan. I love this movie. I'll watch this 10 or more times a year. That's why it's my favorite movie of all time. Now, what is your list? I want to know all that down below in the comment section and more. I know this has been quite a long video. Thank you guys for clicking on this one. And with that said, subscribe, join the Nerd Army. Peace out.